Okay, so Stage Fright. Stage Fright is a slasher musical comedy, interesting hybrid, but something which has a lot of potential. So when I heard about what this movie was, I was like, I have to see this movie. So here we go. So I don't think a slasher musical has been done before. I think the closest thing we've gotten to that would be Tim Burton's Sweeney Todd, which I thought was pretty good. I kind of like that. Like, I'm not really into musicals that much. I haven't seen many musicals. I really liked. I love Wizard of Oz and Little Shop of Horrors. Obviously, I mean, you know, the classics. Oh, no, you know, big surprise, right? But yeah, I haven't seen much musicals. I'm not really into them. But the idea of like a slasher musical sounds like a lot of fun to me. So I was like, you know, well up for watching this movie. Okay, so where to begin? Like, I think this is quite an original idea because if there is a slasher musical, if that's been done before, you'll have to forgive me. I've never heard of the movie if this has been done before. But to my knowledge, it hasn't been done before. Like, I don't think Sweeney Todd really counts. I mean, I guess it kind of just barely qualifies for a horror film. You know, it's a light-hearted, but it just barely qualifies for a horror film, I guess. But it's not really a slasher, I guess. I don't know. I guess you kind of could call it a slasher, kind of. But when I say I want to see a slasher musical, I mean in the like a Friday the 13th or Halloween kind of slasher movie, where, you know, the killer's wearing a creepy mask, and it's like, you know, wearing a creepy mask, picking people off one by one. You don't know the killer's identity until, you know, the showdown at the end. That's the sort of slasher movie I want to see in a musical. So that's what Stage Fright is kind of, you know, trying to do here. Okay, so Stage Fright. Where do I begin here? I guess the plot. There's not much to say. You know, it's a typical standard slasher movie plot. So in the opening scene, there's a little girl and her mother. Her mother is like an actress on Broadway, and after performing her role in a play, she gets murdered by a masked man. And then we suddenly jump to 10 years later, where the little girl is all grown up, and she's working as a cook. In a kitchen at this like acting camp, and at this camp they are putting on the same play her mother was killed at 10 years ago, and she auditions for the same role that her mother played 10 years ago, and then you know, a masked lunatic shows up and starts killing people one by one. That's the movie. Okay, so where should I begin here? Overall, like, if you want to give my like overall opinion on this, because I think this is going to be a lengthy video. If you want my overall opinion on this, I quite liked it. I thought it was a really fun movie. It was genuinely funny when it was trying to be genuinely funny. You know, it made me laugh a few times, which is hard for a movie to do. So if a movie's able to make me like laugh out loud, you know, I will give it credit, because not many movies manage to do that. Yeah, I just thought it's a really fun movie, you know. It's a slasher musical. I don't know, I guess I should... Okay, let's get into this, because this movie does have a lot of problems. Okay, let's get into the problems, though. Because I do hesitate to recommend this movie, although I did like it, because when this movie was over, I had a smile on my face. I did walk out of it feeling pretty good. Like, it made me feel happy, you know. I did really quite enjoy it, but I'm hesitant to actually recommend it to anyone, because I don't think many people are going to like it. Like I said, I enjoyed it, but I don't think many people will. Because it has a lot of flaws, and I don't think many people are going to like look past these flaws. I think these flaws, the movie's flaws are going to kill it for a lot of people. Okay, so let's get into it. So let's talk, first of all, let's talk about the slasher element. So, okay, let's talk about the pacing. So, in the opening scene, there's a death scene. You know, the little girl's mother gets killed in the opening scene, of course. So, you know, it's, yeah, okay, fine, you know, there's one death scene. And then the movie goes on for like 30 or 40 minutes without anyone getting killed. So you have this period of time of 30 or 40 minutes where not a single person gets killed. And then when somebody finally does get killed, the movie goes on for another 20 or 30 minutes before anyone else gets killed. And by that point, it's the climax of the movie, and you know, during the climax, the killer kills like 4 people, and then the movie's over. That's so it's like when the movie is just getting going, it kind of just ends, and it kind of feels a bit unfulfilling in that regard, because, you know, one person dies, 30 or 40 minutes pass, one person dies, another 30 minutes pass, and then the killer like kills 4 people. The movie's over. So you kind of get these really long stretches of no one getting killed. So if you're especially in this for the slasher element, you're going to be a bit pissed off, I think, because it's not paced too well. Because, you know, like I said, that 30 or 40 minute gap after the first opening kill is quite a long gap for a slasher movie to go without anyone getting killed. So I can see a lot of people kind of getting a bit, like, you know, a bit bored by that point. And I wouldn't blame you if you did. I guess the film would have benefited if the kills were more evenly spread out across the film, because you know, that just, you know, kill one or two like other characters off during that time period, you know. So the film would have benefited heavily if they did kill a few more characters off. You know, this film definitely needed a few more kills to kind of, like, you know, awaken, you know, to wake people up who are more so in this for the slasher element. But having said that, I was never bored by the movie. Like, you know, like I said, you know, the 30 or 40 minute period of time with no one getting killed, I was still kind of, you know, into it. Like, it's not that the storyline was too riveting or too deep or anything like that. I mean, it's kind of cliche standard stuff that when you know, it's the typical stuff you would expect from a movie like this. 'Cause, you know, like I said, the girl whose mother was killed 10 years ago, she auditions for the part that her mother played 10 years ago, and she's kind of in competition against this other really hot girl who's also trying to get the same part that she's auditioning for. So the two girls who are like going for the same part, they are kind of like duking it out against one another, being like really bitchy and catty towards one another, and they, like, you know, they're slutting it up for the director, and they're trying to, like, sleep with the director so they get the part. So it's nothing too, like, when you have a story like this, it's the typical stuff, you know, like the girls like trying to sleep with the director to get the part. It's nothing too original, nothing too deep, nothing too, you know, it's really standard cliche stuff. I can see a lot of people getting bored by this, especially people who are really in for the kills. But I wasn't bored by it. You know, I was fine. Like I said, it's really standard cliche stuff, but I wasn't really bored by it. I was moderately, like, invested into what was going on. Like, you know, it wasn't riveting, like I said, but I wasn't bored, so I can at least say that. I was never bored by it. One thing I will say is that the lead girl in this, she was really good. I don't know the actress's name. I think she's pretty unknown, but she was quite good in this movie. Like, I guess that's partially why, because I felt as if she was so strong. Like, she really, I felt as if she carried the movie quite well. I was, like, really, you know, I guess she kind of helped, like, hold my attention a lot. I don't know, I just felt as if she was a strong actress. She kind of held the movie together quite well. If the lead actress wasn't as strong as she was, I guess this movie wouldn't have held my interest during, you know, the moments where no one was getting killed. I want to see the girl in the actress in more things, though. You know, I thought she did a good job. I quite liked her. Anyway, back to the slasher element. Let's talk about the kills and the gore level for a second here. So, the gore, like, everything's practical. As far as I can tell, there's not there's no CGI whatsoever. So whenever a movie is using, especially a slasher movie is using practical effects, entirely practical effects for the gore, you know, I'm all for that, obviously. So, you know, that's cool. So the opening scene is, it's a decent kill. I mean, it's a stabbing. I mean, a typical stabbing. I mean, it's a slasher movie. What do you expect? Like, I'm not expecting the kills to be too creative or inventive. But, you know, it's a good kill. The bloods and everything, the blood effects, the blood spurts, the knife penetrating the neck, and, you know, all that stuff. The effects are good. The gore effects are, yeah, they're not good. They are pretty good. I will give them credits. The effects here are pretty good. So the opening kill, very satisfying if you're in this for the gore, especially. So after this very satisfying kill in the opening scene, kind of like made me a bit, like, excited for the rest of the kills in the movie, and I ended up being really disappointed because the kills in this movie, they're pretty lame. The majority of them are just off screen, and even the ones that are on the screen, they're just really lame. They're just, like, they're not going like the mile they should be with the effects. To give you an example, at this one point in the movie, a girl gets her face shoved into, like, a shower, which is, like, spraying, the shower is spraying boiling hot water, so the killer grabs her by the hair and shoves her face into the boiling hot shower. And when he withdraws her face is like normal. It's like there's no blisters on her face or anything. Like it's not like in Halloween 2 where Michael Myers is shoving the girl's face into the boiling hot bathtub over and over again, and you get to see like the different stages of like you know her face like peeling off as you know she starts to get blisters, the skin starts to peel off, and you know all this gruesome stuff. It's not like Halloween 2 where it does that kind of thing. Or Deep Red. In this movie, it's, you know, the killer shoves the girl's face into the shower, the boiling hot water, withdraws her face. Her face looks no different. They like, the makeup team didn't not bother to, like, apply, you know, blisters or anything like that. Her face just looks normal. And the weird thing is, later on when they find her body, her face does have blisters on it, but like, for the quick shot where you see the killer pull her back from the shower, and we see her face, there's no blisters on her face. But like later on when the people find her body, there are blisters on her face. I don't know, I guess the makeup team wasn't available for that day. I don't know. That's kind of weird though. Okay, let's talk about the musical numbers, I guess, here. I guess I'm not the best guy to go to if you're asking me to critique a musical, because I haven't seen many, so I'm not sure really what to say. I'll try my best. So the musical numbers, I don't know. So they were okay. They weren't too bad. Like it's a low budget slasher movie, so it's kind of like I didn't really expect much, but yeah, they were fine. Like you're not really gonna remember any of these songs like a few days after you've seen the movie, and none of them are too memorable. But they are fine. They're okay. They are okay. They're okay. The dance choreography and the musical numbers, it's standard. It's like I said, I'm not expecting much because it's a low-budget slasher movie. I'm not really expecting much, and you know the dance choreography, it's okay. Nothing special. Nothing really to say. It's not bad, but it's nothing too interesting. Some of the musical numbers kind of felt a bit half-assed to me, because like some of them go on for like 30 seconds and then they kind of just fizzle out and just end. I feel as if the guy who was writing the script, like he was writing the musical number, so the song goes on for like 30 seconds and it kind of just ends. So it kind of feels sometimes the guy who was writing the script or the musical numbers, he was kind of writing them, but then after getting through like, you know, I don't know, 10 lines of lyrics, he kind of just got a bit bored and kind of just stopped. And just, that's it, the musical number. So, I don't know, the musical numbers kind of just, some of them feel a bit half-assed. Not all of them, but some of them do. Where, you know, the person's singing and then they kind of just end. And it kind of feels a bit like, as if kind of, you know, they forgot or they couldn't be bothered to finish the rest of the song. I don't know, some of the songs feel a bit unfinished. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I'm not sure if anyone else is going to get that vibe. It's just, but, you know, that's kind of what I thought. Only some of the songs, though. Okay, let's talk about the killer. The highlight of the movie, without a doubt, is the killer. For starters, the killer, he's got a great get-up. His costume is great. I love the mask. Yeah, you know, the killer, he looks good. The mask, it looks very badass. Yeah, so he, you know, visually he looks awesome, but what I like, it's a shame because this killer is barely in the movie. Because, like I said, you know, you get a like period of like 30 or 40 minutes where he's not doing anything. He's not in the movie, and like. You know, I feel as if he's underused because the killer in this movie is awesome. He's like really, really entertaining to watch because every time he kills someone, he delivers this really, really hammy, really, really cheesy, terrible one-liner. Like, he's like, the actor who's playing the killer in this movie, he's really enthusiastic. Like, he delivers these really hammy one-liners really enthusiastically, and he like screams them at the top of his lungs. And I don't know, like when he does it, it's just really outrageous because, you know, it's a mixture of like how enthusiastic he's saying the lines and how like high pitched his voice is and how loud he's screaming them at the top of his lungs. So it's kind of like a mixture of how he said the lines and how terrible the lines are. That's kind of what amused me. So I did kind of laugh at one or two of his lines, just of, you know, I laughed at how terrible they are and like how enthusiastically the guy delivered the lines. So the actor who played the killer did a good job, but you know, like his voice, like he's just so outrageous. Like he's just giving it his all. He's hamming it up big time, but it's really amusing. Like every time he kills someone, even though the kills themselves were really lame and disappointing, the hammy one-liners kind of made up for that. Like they are what made the killer awesome. Like at one point he snaps someone's foot in half at some point. and he, you know, before he does it, he's like, break a leg. You know, he says something like, yeah, he does say break a leg. That's the line. So that's what I mean when I say the hammy. He says these hammy one-liners. So right before he snaps off one guy's foot, he's like, break a leg, and breaks his foot in half. So that's the sort of like really hammy one-liners they are going for, and they are intentional. I'm sure these really cheesy one-liners are intentional. They know what they're doing. Like, you can tell they're trying to go for the Freddy Krueger kind of cheesy one-liners kind of thing. They work though, because like I said, the killer's personality, the way he delivers the line, how high pitched his voice is, and how loud he screams them. Like, the dude screams them at the top of his lungs. So I don't know, it kind of feels a bit awkward, like the way, like, because of how hammy they are. It kind of feels a bit awkward, but at the same time, I'm kind of laughing at it. So that's what I kind of mean when the movie kind of put me in a good mood. Like, I was laughing along with the killer when he's killing people because of, you know, how he is delivering these one-liners. So the one-liners were awesome. But what I disliked is the killer, when you find out who the killer is and they unmask the killer, he drops his stick. Or how do you pronounce that? Stick? You know, he drops his persona or his personality. As soon as they take the mask off him and you find out who he is, he talks like a regular human being. And it's just like, I lost all interest in the killer when I found out who he was, because as soon as you find out who it is and they take off the mask, he immediately drops this persona. You know, this persona where he's like yelling these outrageous, terrible one-liners really enthusiastically in this high-pitched voice. As soon as they take off the mask, he's talking in like a regular human being. He's talking rationally, not crazy, like a regular human being. And he's just really boring to watch at that point. So that's a shame. And the thing is, he gets unmasked 20 minutes before the movie ends. 20 minutes before the movie ends. So you have 20 minutes to deal with him as acting like a regular human being. And like I said, it's not too interesting to watch. And like I said, it's a shame because the killer's persona is hilarious and you know, really entertaining to watch. But he's not in the movie much. Like I said, that's a real shame because when he is killing people and delivering these awesome one-liners, you know, it's really funny. It's funny stuff. It's really amusing. But like I said, it's a shame because, like I said, you don't get to see him much, and it's a shame because his persona is awesome. Okay, so what else is there to talk about? Yeah, the killer sings as well. Like, it's a slasher musical, so at one point in the movie you are expecting the killer to sing, obviously. Yeah, let's talk about it. He only sings twice in the movie. He has 2 musical numbers, both of which unfortunately feel half-assed, in the sense they feel kind of unfinished, or like they feel like the script writer was experimenting and then he kind of just stopped, because there's 2 songs that the killer sings. They don't last long. Like, he sings for like 30 seconds and then he stops singing, and it's really disappointing because okay, let's set it up for you so you can see what my reaction was when he started singing. So like I said, I was already expecting the killer to sing at some point in the movie, because it's a slasher musical. I mean, you're doing a kind of like a gimmicky movie where it's a slasher but a musical. Obviously, I'm expecting the killer to sing at some point. But, okay, so throughout the movie, like I said, there's this period of like 30 or 40 minutes where the killer doesn't kill anyone, but during this period of 30 or 40 minutes, every now and again we cut to the killer in like his lair, and he's delivering these really cringy, really lame like lines of dialogue, typical villainy dialogue, like, I'm gonna kill them all, I hate them all, I want to kill them all. Like, he's delivering these really cringy, awful one-liners. Like, so we randomly cut to him in his lair delivering these really cringy one-liners every now and again. And so the third time we cut to him in his lair, I was like, oh great, here we go, he's gonna deliver this really shitty line again. But all of a sudden he starts singing, and like, there's no build-up to it or anything. There's no build-up to his song or anything. Like, we cut to him in his lair, and then all of a sudden he starts singing, and I'm like it caught me off guard because of how abrupt it was. Like, he like, they get right into that musical number, man, and he like, oh, it just caught me really off guard. So I was kind of like, the thing is, I don't know, it felt a bit awkward listening to this guy sing. Like, the singer sings like in like a really heavy metal When the killer sings, he's singing in this like screamo kind of thing, like heavy metal kind of thing. I'm sure there's going to be some metal heads out there who are going to be like, it's grunge metal. And I'm ignorant when it comes to music. I don't know what kind of metal it was. I'm just saying heavy metal. It's like the only one I know. But he's singing like this screamo, heavy metal kind of music, whatever it's called. It kind of feels a bit awkward. Like, he's being really, really vile. Like, you know, he's like, you know, I'm gonna fucking murder them all. Like, you know, he's like, he's being really vile when he sings. Like, you know, he's saying all these really vile, horrible things. But it's kind of awkward. But at the same time, I was laughing my ass off. Like, I found it really, really funny just listening to this guy. Like, it's partially because of how abrupt it was and kind of because of how awkward it was with him singing. But I was laughing my ass off when he was doing it. Yeah, I guess the awkwardness of it kind of made me start. I was laughing because of how awkward it was. Like I said, I don't know, it just feels a bit awkward. Like, it's how sudden he started to sing. And like, the vile things that he's saying in combination of like this out of nowhere heavy metal music. Because, you know, all of the other songs in the movie, they're like really light-hearted, kind of fun kind of songs, really light-hearted kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden we get this heavy metal song out of fucking nowhere. And, you know, the killer's singing all of a sudden. And I'm like, wait, what? Like I said, I did expect the killer to sing at some point in the movie, but they kind of just cut to him and then all of a sudden he's singing. It's kind of how sudden they kind of do it. Like, it kind of caught me off guard. So, but I was laughing. I did love it. Like, I couldn't tell if it was like stupid or amazing. I think it's the latter. Like, I wanted to see the killer sing some more. Like, there's some missed opportunities here. I mean, you're doing a slasher musical. Like, they should have had some chase scenes where the killer's chasing the victim. You know, the victim's singing. You know, have the victim singing, doing the chase scene, and then we'll cut to the killer, like, hunting down the victim. We'll have the killer sing. You can have, like, a duet, you know, both of them are singing in the song, in the musical number. I think that would have been awesome. Like, what, you know, like, wow, this, like, the concept of a slasher musical has a lot of potential. And like I said, imagine that, like, a chase scene with a killer and the victim. Both the victim and the killer are both singing, doing the chase scene. That would be amazing. Like, this has a lot of potential. But, you know, let's see, what else? Like I said, when the killer is singing, it's hilarious, and I was, like, genuinely laughing at it. It's a shame he doesn't sing more. Like, he should have had some more, like, you know, songs to sing, more musical numbers, because he only has 2. The second musical number comes a bit later on in the movie. He's in like this kitchen area, and he's like he has this victim he's about to kill. He's like dragging this guy through like this kitchen area, and he's basically toying with him. He's teasing with him. He's like, you know, like every time the guy tries to run off, he's like, you know, punching the guy and like kicking him to the floor. When the guy's trying to crawl off, the killer's like grabbing him by his feet and like dragging him back into the kitchen area. That was a really fun scene as well. I loved it when the killer was singing. It was just like, it was so out there with this heavy metal stuff they were going for, but I was laughing. I found it really funny, and it's, you know, really entertaining as well. Like I said, I wanted to see the killer sing a lot more. It's a shame, and the 2 musical numbers he does have are really short as well. So I was like, damn, man, you know, 2 really awesome moments, but you should have like milked them for a lot more. Okay, anyway, so this scene was just like so off the wall, but I loved it at the same time. So the killer's singing. Every time the guy's trying to crawl away, the killer like grabs him by his foot and like drags him back. You know, still singing all the way as well. And then the killer ties the guy to the chair, and he starts to like hum. The killer's like humming now. He's like dun 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 dun. Like, he's doing this like little tune, and it's so you're thinking, okay, the musical number is over. That's the end of the musical number. So we cut to the guy tied to the chair for a second, and then we cut back, and all of a sudden the killer is standing there with a fucking guitar. Where he got this guitar from, I don't know. Just go with it, obviously. I mean, the movie's tongue-in-cheek, so obviously you're supposed to just go with it. But this was just like outrageous, man. I was loving every second of it, though. So like, you think the musical number is over? The killer's tied to the guy, the victim to the chair. So you think the killer's about to kill him? So we cut to the guy's face. And then we cut back, and for some reason the killer is holding a guitar out of nowhere. And then the killer grabs a knife from the nearby table, and I shit you not, he has the guitar, he grabs a knife, and he starts strumming the knife. No, sorry, I got that the wrong way around. He starts strumming the guitar with the fucking knife. Yeah. And he continues singing while playing the knife. I was sitting there watching this like, this is like terrible, but it's amazing. Like, it's supposed to be like really off the wall though. That's what they were going for, and yeah, I love that scene, man. Like this, you know, the killer just playing the guitar. Like I was just at that point, I was just laughing my ass off. Like, you know, like I said, any movie which is able to make me laugh, I gotta give it credit to, because I kind of have this really cold kind of sense of humour. So if a movie does make me laugh, I will give it a lot of credit. So I was kind of like just sitting there like laugh, like, oh wow, I couldn't believe what I was watching. Like, this is really happening. Like a killer in a slash movie doing a musical number. Like, I've always wanted to see this, and now he's like playing a guitar with his knife in front of his victim that he's about to kill. I was just laughing my ass off at that. I thought that was a lot of fun. Okay, what else is there to talk about? Let's talk about the whodunit aspect for a moment here. This is the way I view whodunits. Let's talk about the way I view whodunits for a second. Okay, so like, I'm probably going to stumble over my words a lot here. This is going to be a bit hard for me to explain, but I'm going to try my best. Okay, to give you an example, let's talk about the Scream movies. I love the first 3 Scream movies. I know the third movie is generally considered to be the worst Scream movie, but I love this third one. I love them all. Well, I love the first 3, should I say. I guess it's the Hollywood setting, I just love that. But Scream 4 was like fucking awful. I hated Scream 4 with a passion. I know there's some people that liked it, but Scream 4 was fucking terrible, in my opinion, of course. I hated Scream 4 so much. Okay, but let's talk about the whodunit elements. A lot of people kind of talk about the Scream movies as whodunits, and I'm just like, no, they're not. This is what a whodunit is. You might disagree, but this is what a whodunit is. This is what I think a whodunit is. In a whodunit, you can work out who the killer is. The director has like placed things, or the screenwriter, they've placed things throughout the script or throughout the movie, like specific things, little things which are clues towards the identity of the killer. And so from this, you should be able to, what I'm saying is, in a good whodunit, at least, you should be able to work out who the identity of the killer is. Not that you will work out the identity of the killer, but you should be able to work out the identity of the killer if you're paying enough attention. If you pick up on the clues and piece them together, you should be able to work out who the killer is. That's what a good whodunit is. The Scream movies are not whodunit, because in the Scream movies, you cannot work out who the killer is. Because, sure, they are, like, the thing is, in the Scream movies, if you haven't seen the Scream movies, allow me to kind of like sum it up for you. Every single character in the Scream movies, like there's like 10, like pretty much every single character in the Scream movies could be the killer. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, sure, one of these characters, like there's like a bunch of red herrings. Like there's so many red herrings. There's no way for you to like distinguish the actual killer from a red herring. That's why they are not whodunits, because there's no way for you to work out which one is a red herring and which one is the killer. If you don't know what a red herring is when basically a director or like someone, you know, there's a story basically, and the guy who wrote the story or made the movie, he's basically trying to like trick you into thinking a character is the killer when they are not. That's what a red herring is. Like a red herring is when they're trying to trick you into thinking this character is the killer by like, you know, for example, like, I don't know, they find evidence, like, you know, presenting evidence which kind of indicates that this person is probably the killer, but then it turns out they weren't the killer. Like, that's what a red herring is, if you don't know what a red herring is. It's when they are trying to trick you into thinking a specific character is the killer, and it turns out not to be them. And that's what the Scream movies do. You have like 10 different red herrings, like 10 different, like, not even 10, like every single character is a red herring in those movies. And there's no way for you to work out who the actual killer is from the red herring. Like, everyone, like, it seems plausible enough for any one of these characters to be the killer. There's no way for you to work out who the actual killer is, because it makes sense for the killer to be any one of these characters. That's why the Scream movies are not whodunits. They are not whodunits. They are slasher movies, but they are not whodunits, because, like I said, there's no way for you to work out who the killer is. There's no way for you to distinguish between a red herring and an actual killer. Now, it's okay to have a red herring, like, if you have a red herring in your movie, it doesn't automatically make the movie invalid to be a slasher movie, sorry, a whodunit movie. You can still make a whodunit movie with a red herring. It's just that if you are going to have a red herring in your slasher movie, you have to present a clue at some point in the movie which allows you to work out that there's no possible way that person can be the killer. So sure, you can like set someone up to be a red herring, but you still have to put a piece of evidence in the movie or a clue. You have to put something in the movie which makes it impossible, if you recognize this clue or a piece of evidence, it makes it impossible for the red herring to be the killer. So then, you know, if you notice or spot this clue, you can be like, oh, okay, then it's impossible for that guy to be the killer, so it can't be him. So then you can focus on other suspects. That's what a good whodunit does with the red herrings. You know, if you don't, and that's the thing with the Scream movies, there's no way for you to distinguish between the red herrings. Like, there's no like cleverly placed clues which allow you to work out this red herring is just a red herring and not actually the killer. There's no way for you to work that out. So that's what I'm trying to get at with the whodunits, and this movie operates on a same thing. It's not really a whodunit in that sense, because there's not really any way you can work out who the killer is, because there are several red herrings in this movie. Some of the red herrings are really, really obvious though. You know, some of the red herrings are like, yeah, there's no way that guy's the killer, it's way too obvious. So some of the red herrings you can really tell. Some of the red herrings, so it kind of gets a bit iffy, like whether or not they are, like, some of the characters I was kind of like, this guy kind of seems like a red herring, but I'm not too sure. He kind of does, kind of isn't. I was personally able to work out who the killer was, but like I said, there's no way for you to really work out who the killer is because of good craftsmanship. It's like the Scream movies. Those movies are like, there's no good filmmaking or there's no good craftsmanship or good filmmaking involved in those movies when it comes to you being able to work out who the killer is. If you worked out who the killer was, it was just because it's a famous actor playing this character, or because because they are, or it's like because they are, you can tell that they're purposefully trying to hide this character away from you. It's like, so it's not, if you do work out who the killer is in the Scream movies or in this movie, it's not good through good craftsmanship. Like, there's no good craftsmanship involved. The only reason you're able to work out who the killer is because you've seen a bunch of slasher movies and you can kind of like you can kind of tell what the filmmaker is trying to do. Like, for example, in Stage Fright, I'm not going to spoil who the killer is, but I was basically, because I've seen millions of slasher movies beforehand, I was kind of seeing what the director was trying to do, and I was basically kind of looking for the character the director was trying to draw my attention off. Like, there were a bunch of red herrings, and then I was kind of like getting really suspicious of this one character they barely ever show, and I was thinking the director's trying to draw my attention away from that character by showing me all these red herrings. So I started getting suspicious of this character. I was thinking, he's showing as little of this character as possible to draw my attention away from him. And I was thinking, I'm tripping over my words here, but I was able to work out who the killer was because I've seen a lot of slasher movies, and I was kind of like, the character which does turn out to be the killer, I was kind of like, the director is clearly trying to like draw my attention away from this guy. So that's how I was kind of like, that's why I put my money on him being the killer, and it turned out to be right. I don't know, but when I looked online, some people said it was predictable, some people said it was unpredictable. So you might fall for the red herrings, because there are multiple, and you might not. You'll see. Because the thing is, when you're watching these kind of movies, you're kind of like, you always got to be wary of, like, maybe the director is, like, you got a red herring and it's so obvious that this person is a red herring, but the thing is, you might be thinking the director's trying to do a double bluff and call you a bluff, where the director purposefully makes a character such an obvious red herring that you wouldn't even think that person is the killer because it's so obvious. And then it does turn out to be that killer. That's what I like. That's just sometimes with slasher movies you gotta be careful of. Maybe the director is making it so obvious that this person is a red herring that he's banking on the fact that you're thinking, oh, this guy can't be the killer, it's just way too obvious. Then he does turn out to be the killer. That's sometimes what a director does do, he calls you a bluff. So that was one thing I was kind of like, maybe he's trying to do that with this movie. But yeah, I did pick the right guy in the end. One thing I will say though, although the killer's identity is, I thought that was pretty obvious. I did like the killer's motive. That's one thing I didn't see coming. The killer's motive in this movie is quite interesting. It's I'm not going to spoil it, but it's it adds a new layer to the story. When you find out why the killer is killing people, it's not your typical I'm killing people because I'm crazy kind of, you know, motive. It's quite an interesting motive. It adds a new layer to the characters and the story. So I did like the killer's motive. That was quite interesting. I will say the movie becomes a bit of a mess in the final like 20 minutes. Mostly like when the killer gets unmasked, it becomes a bit of a mess. Like we are constantly cutting back between like the final showdown between the killer and the final girl, as well as like because during the climax of the movie, the kids are putting on this play. They are like acting out this play towards like a live audience, and we're kind of like we're jumping back and forth, cutting back and forth between the kids putting on this play in front of a live audience, and we are jumping back and forth between that and the killer killing people. And I don't know, it felt a bit like disjointed. It didn't feel like they were cutting back and forth like with any rhyme or reason. It felt like a bit random with how they were cutting back and forth. It felt a bit disjointed. It just felt like a bit of a mess. And the thing is, when we were by the time the main girl is having a showdown with the killer, it's kind of like, why are we even cutting back to this play anymore? Like, this is kind of irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. I mean, we got a psychopath trying to kill people. I mean, maybe we should focus on that rather than a bunch of kids putting on this play for this live audience. I guess that's partially why it felt like a bit of a mess. It's like, why are we cutting back to? Why are we cutting towards this? It's kind of irrelevant to this point when we have a psychopath chasing down the main character. Maybe we should be kind of focusing on that. I guess that's kind of the mindset I was having. I think I'm done. That's really all I have to say, though. So, Stage Fright, it's a slasher musical. It's not done as well as it could have. I want to see another person give this a stab. Like, I want to see a more competent director or a more competent writer make a movie. Make a slasher movie, a slasher musical movie, because this idea has a lot of potential, and I don't want to, like, when I say I want to see a more competent director or writer make a slasher musical, I don't want to like put down, like, I don't want to put down, or I don't want to, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to insult the director or writer of this movie, because like I said, I did enjoy this movie. I walked out of it with like a smile on my face, feeling pretty happy, because, you know, so the really goofy stuff like the killer, when his hammy one-liners, and when he was singing, and when he's strumming the guitar with a knife, like those sort of goofy moments, they like made me laugh. They put me in a good mood. So I don't want to like insult the director or writer of this movie, because he did make me laugh, the director and the writer of this movie. They did make me laugh, so I got to give them credit for that. And I did enjoy the movie overall. It's just you know, this could have, like, this movie, it kind of like, it has these occasional moments of genius, like, you know, when the killer's singing or strumming the guitar and his hammy one-liners. It has these occasional moments of absolute genius. And then it has a lot of like mediocre moments, but for me, like those like really goofy genius moments are worth the price of admission, in my opinion. But like I said, I'm kind of hesitant to recommend it, because not everyone's gonna like this. Some people are gonna dislike it, but at least if you watch this video and you're still gonna watch the movie, at least I've warned you what's wrong with the movie, and the fact that, you know, there's not many kills, and the kills that there are pretty disappointing, and there's like, you know, one kill 30 minutes or 40 minutes, then one kill, then another 30 minutes, and then a bunch of kills, and then the movie's over. So at least I've kind of informed you about the pacing issues of the movie, if you are going to see the movie, so at least you're kind of prepared for the issues that the movie suffers from. But yeah, I did like it though, overall. It was a fun movie. I quite enjoyed it. It put a smile on my face. I guess that's the most important thing. It put a smile on my face. It won't put a smile on everyone's face, but it put a smile on my face. And that's enough for me. And, you know, I'm hesitant to recommend it, like I said, but I would recommend it. Just be wary of the flaws that I've mentioned. And I can't guarantee that you'll like it, but, you know, I still recommend it. It's if anything, you'll be entertained or like mind blown by those little scenes where the killer's like strumming the guitar with a knife. Those are great scenes. Okay, yeah, I think I'm done though. But like I said, I would love to see another director or a more competent director or writer give this a go, this slasher musical thing a go. Like I said, this is like, this offers so much potential. Like, imagine a full-blown musical number where, like, you know, the victim is being chased by the killer, and both the killer is like, both the killer and the victim are singing as, you know, the killer is like chasing the victim. That you know, this a slasher musical, it offers moments for absolute genius, you know. So I want to see a more competent director or writer do this. I would love to see another movie like this. So here's hoping for more slasher musicals, which are better than this one. Not that I didn't like this one, because like I said, I did like this one, but it has a lot of potential. It could have been a lot better, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, but I think I'm done. So that's Stage Fright, and yeah, I'm finished. That's all I got. See ya.